This next episode of Trivia in Chief is about our 18th president, Ulysses S. Grant, and the unique story behind his name. President Grant was born Hiram Ulysses Grant in 1822. He always went by Ulysses, allegedly because he disliked his initials being Hug. Grant worked for his father's farm and became very skilled with horses. A friend of Grant's father, Congressman Thomas Hammer, nominated Grant for West Point. Unfortunately, Hammer nominated him as Ulysses S. Grant, with the S possibly referring to Grant's mother, Hannah Simpson Grant. Grant accepted the new name, but never decided what the S should stand for. At West Point, Grant received many demerits because of his unkempt uniform. When he graduated in 1843, he was 21st in his class, but was considered a very good horseman. He was first stationed in St. Louis. While in Missouri, Grant fell in love with Julia Dent, and they were engaged in 1844. Grant went to serve in the Mexican-American War, and he served under General Zachary Taylor. The Battle of Palo Alto was Grant's first military battle. By the end of the war, Grant had been promoted to captain. He returned to St. Louis and married Julia. In 1852, Grant was sent to serve in the Oregon Territory, and he was later stationed in California. On April 11, 1854, he resigned from the Army for unknown reasons. Grant settled at his wife's family estate in Missouri, called Whitehaven. The plantation used slave labor, and the slaves were owned by Julia Grant's family. Julia's father gave Grant a slave of his own, named William Jones, in the 1850s. Grant freed Jones in 1859. Grant was the final president to have owned slaves. Shortly before the beginning of the Civil War, Grant moved to Illinois. When the war began, Grant volunteered to serve and became a prominent figure among the Illinois soldiers. He was made a brigadier general in July of 1861. Grant became nationally famous at Fort Henry and Fort Donelson in Tennessee, though Grant did have major casualties at Shiloh. Grant also became known for his capture of Vicksburg. He was made a lieutenant general in March of 1864, placing him in command of the entire Union Army. He acceptedly surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865. Grant became a war hero and toured the entire country, including the South. After President Johnson dismissed Secretary of War Edwin Stanton, Grant was made the interim Secretary of War. Due to the controversy behind Stanton's dismissal, Grant soon resigned. Grant was nominated by the Republicans in 1868 to run for president, and narrowly won the election. He had never been elected to a political office, and was at the time our youngest president. Grant worked heavily on Reconstruction, often sending troops to the southern states. Grant also used soldiers to dismantle the KKK. He easily won the 1872 election, but his administration faced many scandals in his second term. After Grant left office, he traveled around the world, meeting Queen Victoria, Benjamin Disraeli, Otto von Bismarck, and the Japanese Emperor. He put most of his money in an investment firm run by his son in 1881. His son's business partner, Ferdinand Ward, took the money and left, leaving Grant poor. To make money for his family, he wrote his memoirs with the help of his publisher, Mark Twain. On July 23, 1885, a few days after he finished writing, he passed away. His memoirs were a huge success, allowing Julia to live comfortably for the rest of her life. Grant was entombed inside Grant's tomb in New York City, one of the world's largest mausoleums. Ulysses S. Grant was a war hero and an influential president. The next president was Rutherford B. Hayes. Thank you.